So hey anime fans, the series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Demon, so let's start the series. After stealing the scroll from the Hokage's tower, Naruto fell into the center of the clearing where his silver-haired instructor, Mizuki, had instructed him to meet. He was breathing heavily because he had run as quickly as he could to avoid the Jounin and ANBU squads that were supposed to find him. Why would Jounin and ANBU pursue me for the sole purpose of testing? As he put the enormous scroll to the ground and unfolded it, Naruto thought, something's wrong. In any case, I better start learning a jutsu from the scroll before Mizuki-sensei arrives. Bushin no Jutsu, Kage. Shadow clone technique. It seems simple enough to me to just form a cross-shaped hand seal and channel chakra into it. Let's see. Clones formed are solid and user retains any memories the clone has. Sounds ideal for training, Naruto said, after cracking his hands. Kage Bushin no Jutsu, he muttered as a number of smoke puffs emerged around the clearing. When the smoke cleared, 5 identical Narutos were standing around the original. Naruto approached one of the clones and examined it closely before reaching up and prodding it. He grinned when he saw that it was solid. Before turning back to the scroll, Naruto yelled, "Yada! I can do a clone jutsu now, Mizuki-sensei sure has to pass me for that. If I learn an extra jutsu then Mizuki-sensei could give me extra marks for the test," he said. Naruto then returned to the scroll and began to leaf through it. A few different techniques caught his attention, but for a variety of reasons, he chose not to study them. Next up is Kuchios, Edo Tensei, Summoning, in Pure World Resurrection, a method developed by the Nidaime Hokage that enables the user to call the dead back to the world of the living. Clap your hands after performing the hand seals of tiger, snake, dog, and dragon. This method necessitates sacrifices, so I'm not going to learn it. Naruto was disgusted by the technique and questioned why the Nidaime had developed it. As he turned to the next article, Naruto deadpanned, "All right, next one, Shiki Fujin, Dead Demon Consuming Seal, allows the user to summon the Shinigami to seal away something or someone into a vessel at the cost of the summoner's life. Lame." Bunkatsu Seigen, Suru no Maji, Limit Break, Soul Merge, is a technique that fuses the dark and light, also known as the opposing halves of the soul together. It is called a kenjutsu because, despite the user's increased power, their personality can occasionally undergo a complete change. Hand seals are snake, tiger, dragon, boar, monkey, and hold and ram seal while channeling chakra. Naruto smiled because this technique sounded intriguing, and he carefully went through each hand seal to avoid making a mistake. Iruka, panting, exclaimed, "I found you." As he fell in front of an astonished Naruto, who merely smiled and gestured with 2 fingers. Naruto cried out, "Hey! I found the nosebleeder." Iruka yelled, "Baka! I found you," using the head inflating method before settling down and looking at Naruto. Naruto gazed excitedly at the Chunin instructor and said, "He, you found me, but I've managed to learn 2 different jutsus from the scroll. Now you will have to let me graduate, right, Iruka-sensei?" Iruka inquired gravely, "Naruto, where did you get that scroll from?" "Oh, this thing." Naruto looked at the enormous scroll. "Mizuki-sensei told me about the secret graduation test. He said I had to steal this scroll from the Hokage tower and meet him here. He said that if I learned a jutsu from this scroll and showed you then I would definitely be able to graduate." Iruka pushed Naruto aside and was struck by the barrage of kunai that came their way. The force sent him sliding into the wooden hut behind him. "Mizuki? Wah, look out!" Iruka and Naruto turned toward the sound and saw Mizuki crouching on a tree branch with 2 Fuma shuriken fastened to his back. Nice job finding the moron, they said. Irika clutched his side in agony as he spat blood from his mouth, saying, I see, so that's what's going on. Mizuki yelled at the bewildered youngster, Naruto, give me the scroll if you want to graduate. With a puzzled expression, Naruto glanced from Irika to Mizuki. Huh, what? What the hell is going on here? Naruto. Whatever happens here, don't give Mizuki the scroll. Irika yelled abruptly, that's a dangerous scroll that contains forbidden ninjutsu inside it. Mizuki used you to get his hands on it. Mizuki grinned at the startled expressions on Irika's and Naruto's faces, saying, Naruto, there's no point in you having the scroll, I will tell you the truth now. Irika screamed, NNO. Don't, but Mizuki chose to ignore him. Mizuki continued, remember how the Yondaime Hokage defeated the demon fox when the Kyuubi attacked the village 12 years ago? He shook his head. The expression on Naruto's face caused Mizuki to smile quietly. Well, on that day a special rule was created for this village, but this rule was never meant to be told to you, she said. Mizuki chuckled darkly as Naruto yelled, why not me? What is this rule? Tell me. What kind of rule is it? She asked. The rule that the Sandaime made was that nobody is allowed to talk about the fact that you are the Kyuubi no Yoko. Nine-tailed demon fox, Mizuki said with a glare. Naruto's eyes widened in shock as he stammered, what? What do you mean by that? Irika yelled, stop it Mizuki, but was once again disregarded. It means that you are in fact the Kyuubi no Yoko, that killed Irika's parents and destroyed the village. You were sealed up by the Hokage you admire so much and... Mizuki went on to add. Irika frantically attempted to stop Mizuki from going on, saying, stop it. You have been lied to by everyone. Mizuki cracked a grin. Didn't you find it odd that everyone hates you and how you were ignored and denied even the most basic necessities? With his eyes closed and tears streaming from them, Naruto balled his fists. Mizuki unlocked the enormous shuriken from his back and began spinning it with his hand. Naruto was unaware of this because his eyes were closed, but Irika did, and he thought about what the Sandaime had said to him. Irika is the same as the rest of them. He may act friendly towards you, but on the inside, he hates you as well. Since Naruto has never experienced parental love and is despised by the villagers, he engages in various forms of mischief and mayhem to gain the attention he seeks. He wants everyone to recognize him in any way possible, so he presents a harsh and uncaring front while actually going through internal turmoil. Ugh! Mizuki sneered from his perch as Naruto opened his eyes after feeling someone shove him to the ground and saw Irika crouching over him with the giant shuriken that had been intended for him lodged in his back. Naruto stared at Irika in disbelief as his blood and perspiration trickled down his whisker-like birthmarks and onto his cheek. Naruto glanced at his teacher and muttered, why? My parents, after they died, there was nobody to compliment or acknowledge me. I always acted like an idiot or a clown, just to get people's attention since I wasn't good at learning or doing homework. It was better than being nothing, so I kept acting like an idiot. It was so painful, Irika responded as tears began to stream down his face. Naruto, I'm sorry, you must have been in a lot of pain too. If I had done a better job, you wouldn't have to feel this way. Naruto could take no more and began to flee. Naruto, he exclaimed. Mizuki jumped down from his position on the branch and landed close to Irika, who grunted and withdrew the giant shuriken from his back. Naruto isn't the type of person to have a change of heart, and I think he's planning to use the scroll to get revenge. you saw those eyes earlier, the eyes of a real demon, Mizuki said. Iruka gasped, Naruto, isn't like that. Mizuki bounded away from Iruka in the direction Naruto had fled, saying, well, that doesn't really matter, I'll kill Naruto and get the scroll before coming back to deal with you later. As he attempted to follow Mizuki, Iruka coughed up blood and said, ugh. Damn it. An additional section of the woodland. Iruka saw Naruto leaping from tree to tree in front of him and yelled, Naruto. Hurry up and give me the scroll. Mizuki is after you. Naruto abruptly changed course and rammed his shoulder into Iruka's stomach, sending him crashing to the ground as Naruto fell at the base of a tree. Iruka exclaimed, why? Naruto, before disappearing in a ball of smoke, showing that it was actually Mizuki wearing a henge. How did you know I wasn't Iruka? Iruka asked. Naruto laughed and then vanished in a cloud of smoke, revealing a smirking Iruka. He. Naruto said, I'm Iruka. The real Naruto was really hidden behind a tree trunk close by and could hear them. He, you'd even transform into what killed your parents to protect him? Mizuki asked with a gloomy smile. Iruka yelled defiantly, I won't give the scroll to someone like you. Mizuki's response, you idiot. Naruto and I are the same, made Naruto grimace behind the tree. Iruka gave him a fierce look and asked, what are you saying? If you use the skills written in that scroll, you can do whatever you want. Unlike what you're assuming, there's no way that Demon Fox wouldn't try to use that scroll to gain more power. Mizuki roared. The murmured, yeah. From Iruka made Naruto clench his fists. Naruto thought, I knew it, see, even Iruka-sensei deep down, doesn't acknowledge me, before paying close attention to what he heard next. Iruka gave Mizuki a defiant glare. The Demon Fox would do that, but Naruto is different, he is one of my excellent students, he may not be the hardest worker, he is clumsy, and no one accepts him, he already knows what it is to feel pain inside your heart, he isn't the Demon Fox, he is a member of Konohagakure no Sato, he's Uzumaki Naruto. Iruka grumbled as a sharp pain went through his body, well, whatever. Mizuki sneered as he picked up his last Fuma shuriken. Iruka. I said I would take care of you later but I changed my mind, Iruka replied. As he spun the enormous shuriken in his palm and ran toward the wounded Iruka, who just grinned slightly at his approaching death, Mizuki yelled, hurry up and die. Iruka gazed at Naruto in disbelief as he landed in front of him after sending Mizuki skidding across the forest floor, but before Mizuki could get to him, an orange blur appeared from behind a tree and pushed Mizuki in the chin with his knee, causing the enormous shuriken to slam into a random tree. Mizuki spit out some blood and got back up, growling, you shouldn't have done that. Naruto scowled at Mizuki and said, don't touch Iruka-sensei you piece of trash or I'll kill you. Iruka yelled, you idiot. Why did you come out? But the two chose to ignore her. Mizuki said, ha ha ha, I'll kill someone like you in one shot. Naruto raced through the hand seals, saying, try it. I dare you, I'll show you what I've learned from the scroll. Snake, tiger, dragon, boar, monkey, and finally ram. Mizuki yelled, then do it Demon Fox. Naruto cried out, Bunkatsu Seigen, Sura no Maji, as he directed his chakra into the ram seal. What the hell? He asked, doubling over in agony as red, blue, and black chakra tendrils instantly encircled him. Haha, trust someone like you to not know what a jutsu does before using it. Now die. Mizuki ran at Naruto after drawing a kunai, but a shockwave of strength instantly blew him away. As Iruka watched Naruto be engulfed in a dome of swirling red, blue, and black chakra, he thought, Bunkatsu Seigen, Suru no Maji. I've heard of this jutsu. It was created by the Shodame Hokage. Apparently he figured out that everyone's soul is split in two parts, the yin and yang, light and dark. So the jutsu combines both aspects into one, which grants the user double their power and chakra at the risk of losing their original personality. The mindscape of Naruto. Drip, drip, drip. When Naruto opened his eyes, he discovered that he was no longer in the forest that surrounded Konoha, but rather in a bizarre dungeon that resembled a sewer, with a massive metal gate in front of him. He jumped back in surprise when two menacing red eyes and a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth materialized behind the metal gate. The weird creature behind the gate spoke in a loud, booming voice, "Boy, do you know what you have done?" Naruto gasped as the Kyuubi stepped forward a little, displaying its blood-red fur and 9 tails spread out behind it. "You're the Kyuubi, aren't you?" Kyuubi snarled, "Yes, boy, I am the Kyuubi, or was." "What do you mean?" Naruto questioned, looking perplexed. "That jutsu you used was not meant to be used by people like you, a Jinchuriki. Since you have an extra soul inside you, normally I would be absorbed into you, never to be seen again, but your father's seal saved me from that," Kyuubi said. Naruto said in indignation, "Wait a minute, my father. The Yondaime is my father and he stuck me with this burden." Kyuubi pointed with a tail to the dark chakra trail coming from the seal tag and said, "Unfortunately yes, now as I was saying, the seal is powered by a soul shard of the Shinigami, and it is that instead of my soul that is being absorbed into you." Naruto thought out loud, "That explains the black chakra but not the red one. The red-colored chakra is mine, although my soul has been spared, the technique still claims something from me, and that is my power. I will eventually regain my power, but that would take a few years at least, so you will become a demon Shinigami hybrid by the time this jutsu is over," Naruto said. "I won't be human anymore." After giving it some thought, Kyuubi said, "No, but isn't being a demon with the power of the Shinigami much better than that?" Naruto turned to face the Kyuubi and said, "I guess that makes sense. And the only person whose opinion I give a damn about is Iruka-sensei. Hold up, then what happens to you?" "I will be released from the seal since it will be absorbed into you except without a single tail of power," Kyuubi replied with a smile. "Oh. I see." Kyuubi abruptly stated, "However, I would like something in compensation for my power." While he waited, Naruto drifted off, "Well, that depends on what you're asking." After he had calmed down, Naruto questioned, "Why would you want me as your mate?" He was still flushed and trying to look away from Kyuubi's nude body. "Don't be mistaken, I am a demon and we are attracted to power, and you will be the most powerful thing to walk this planet in a few minutes. You will understand once you absorb my power completely," Kyuubi laughed. "Don't worry. You will be able to take other females as your mates as well, as long as you get my approval first." "What?" said Naruto, startled. "It is common practice for male demons of great strength to have multiple mates to ensure their legacy lives on through their children," Kyuubi said simply. After granting Kyuubi's request, Naruto abruptly collapsed on the sewer floor in agony. "Fine, I guess I can do that." As they both disappeared from the mindscape, Kyuubi crooned, "Looks like the jutsu is about to be finished, see you on the outside Narukuen." Back in the woods, when Mizuki regained consciousness, he saw the multicolored dome turn purple before reverting to a towering male figure clutching a smaller female figure. "Naruto?" Iruka questioned incredulously. "What's up, sensei? Just sit there while I deal with the trash," Naruto said in a deeper voice, "but that wasn't the only change. He had grown from a small, spiky blonde to a towering 7 meters. His once short, spiky hair had changed to resemble his father's, but with black streaks running through it. His once sky-blue pupils had turned amethyst, with a vertical black slit through it. His whisker-like birthmarks appeared to have darkened, and all signs of baby fat had disappeared from his face. He was wearing a black kimono top and matching black hakama pants with a crimson haori over the shirt, and a sheathed katana fastened to his left hip. Naruto placed the demon at the base of a tree and spoke to her, "I'll be right back, Q-chan," as she was now wearing a black yukata with a crimson sash. "Just call me Akane," Kyubi, who is now Akane, instructed him as he acknowledged with a nod before approaching Mizuki. Mizuki exclaimed with delight, "I knew it. You are a demon," as he hurled a flurry of shuriken at Naruto's approaching figure. Naruto just pulled his katana out of its sheath and dodged each one. When Mizuki eventually ran out of shuriken and kunai, Naruto calmly responded, "No, I'm not a demon. I am more powerful than that," and he went up to the traitor who had retreated into a tree. With a fit of laughter, Mizuki leaped to his feet and tried to attack Naruto with a rising uppercut, but Naruto only managed to grab his wrist with his left hand. "Lies. I will kill you now and the village will proclaim me a hero." Naruto grumbled as he flung Mizuki skyward with one hand, sheathed his katana, and leaped up after him. "If you want a demon, I will show you how demonic I can be," Naruto said. Just as he was about to reach Mizuki, he drew his katana in a wide horizontal slice. Akane licked her lips at the display of power, while Iruka looked in wonder at how much power Naruto had gained only after doing that jutsu. Kuroryu no Jushu. Black Dragons Rise. Naruto exclaimed as he landed on a tree branch and Mizuki's body split apart in a bloody rain at the waist. At the utterance of his name, the Chunin instructor awoke from his daze and asked Naruto, "Iruka-sensei, are you okay?" Iruka muttered, "I just need to get these wounds bandaged up and I'll be fine," before turning to face Naruto once more. "More importantly, what happened to you?" she said. As Naruto's palm flashed purple, Iruka gazed in wonder as the wounds sutured up and healed themselves. "I will answer any questions you have later, just let me heal your wounds first," Naruto said. "That was amazing, Naruto. Now about that explanation and who that lady is," replied Iruka. A group of ANBU appeared as Naruto was finishing his speech. "You will have to wait a while, sensei." That old sack of bones, also known as the Hokage, would have watched the entire thing through his crystal ball, so we would be called into his office anyway, where I will explain everything, Naruto said. "Naruto, Iruka-san, Hokage-sama has called for the both of you to meet him in his office with the forbidden scroll now," a Nico-masked ANBU remarked. Naruto scooped up Akane's bridal style and stood behind Iruka before the three of them sank into a shadow portal that had opened beneath their feet. "Thank you for informing us, Nico-chan. Come on, Iruka-sensei, Akane-chan, we wouldn't want to keep Hokage-sama waiting now, would we?" Tower of Hokage. When Sarutobi Hiruzen thought his day couldn't get any worse, he watched through his crystal ball as Mizuki told him about the Kyubi and what happened after it. He was exhausted and rubbed his wrinkled temples. He had to deal with endless piles of paperwork first, and as he was about to finish them, Naruto stormed into his office, knocked him out with that dumb technique of his, and took the forbidden scroll. When a whirling shadow portal materialized in the center of his office, he tensed a little, but he calmed a little when Naruto, Iruka, and the girl who was with Naruto emerged from it. Iruka gasped, a little pale from the technique, "Naruto, what the hell was that?" Naruto sat down and Akane sat on his lap, prompting Iruka and the Sandaime to cough a little. That was known as Kage no Ryaku, shadow traveling. I can transport myself and people around me using the shadows as a medium, Naruto explained. Hiruzen smoked his pipe and said, "Well, Naruto-kun, care to explain what happened out there?" Naruto simply replied, "That jutsu caused me to fuse with not only my dark self but Kyuubi's power as well as the soul shard of the Shinigami that was used to power the seal, so I now have the powers of Kyuubi and the Shinigami as well as their memories on how to use all their techniques, which makes me a demon with Shinigami powers." Which caused Iruka to widen his eyes and the Hokage to cough after inaudibly inhaled some smoke from his pipe. The red-haired woman sitting on Naruto's lap was indicated by Hiruzen with the words, "Okay, who is this lovely lady then?" After saying, "This is Akane-chan, also known as the former Kyuubi no Yoko and my mate," Naruto wrapped his arms around Akane, who relaxed back in his hug. Hiruzen and Iruka simultaneously yelled, "W what?" Naruto chuckled a little at his mate's pout. After the jutsu did what it did, the seal fell apart and released a now powerless Akane back into the world, he said. Inquiring, "And the mate part?" Iruka. Naruto was grinning broadly now as he observed the two men sigh and rub their heads. Akane asked that in exchange for taking her power that I take her as my mate as well, so I did, Naruto said. Hiruzen moaned, "Only you Naruto, only you could give me such a big headache all in the span of a day," as a crushing force surged through the room, making it difficult for Iruka and the Sandame to breathe. They turned to see a poker-faced Naruto staring directly at the Hokage. Akane got up smiling and proceeded to a corner of the office where she leaned against the wall to watch the show. Naruto murmured softly, "Tell me, when did you exactly plan on telling me that I had Akane-chan sealed inside me?" Killing purpose joined the crushing power when the elderly Hokage said, "I didn't intend to tell you, I wanted you to live as normal a life as possible." Naruto's demonic voice yelled, "Normal? My life was never normal, so tell me. Why did you not tell me about my burden?" As purple and black chakra swirled around him. "I believed that if you did not know of the Kyuubi's existence then she would not be able to influence your actions," Hiruzen at last admitted. As he spoke, Naruto went up to the Hokage's desk and slammed a fist on it, breaking it with his strength. "So you thought that if I had known about Akane-chan, would have been influenced by her? He, do you have that little faith in my father's seal? When did you plan on telling me that little piece of information, huh?" Iruka had a shocked expression on his face, and Hiruzen stammered, his face going pale. How did you find out?" Naruto scowled at the Hokage, who tried not to recoil at the amount of anger and malice concealed in those slitted pupils. "Akane-chan informed me of it, so what's your stupid excuse this time?" Naruto asked. "Why, your father had plenty of enemies, the most prominent being IWA, and they would stop at nothing to kill or capture you if they found out about your heritage," Hiruzen responded. "Did I ask you why you didn't tell IWA? I asked you why you didn't tell me. I wondered all my life who my parents were and if they were proud of me or hated me like the rest of the villagers, and you knew all along but didn't tell me." Naruto growled as he took the Hokage by his clothes. Naruto dropped him back in his chair after Hiruzen muttered, "I'm so sorry Naruto, just tell me if I can do anything at all to make it up to you," in a voice full of regret and embarrassment. As the whirling chakra disappeared and the crushing power and killing intent were retracted, Naruto's voice returned to normal. "Tell me who my mother is, give me a ninja status and give me my inheritance, and maybe, just maybe I may forgive you, but I will never forget this," he said. After a brief pause, Hiruzen responded, "Your mother's name was Uzumaki Kushina, she was the second Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi." And just swipe your blood across the portrait of your father, there is a blood seal on it and it contains your family inheritance. Collect your headband from me tomorrow morning. Naruto followed his instructions, biting his thumb before swiping it across his father's picture, which caused multiple scrolls to emerge. Naruto seized Akane and they vanished into a shadow portal. One more thing, please include Akane-chan into my team, oh, and keep all that happened here to yourselves. I'll see you at the team selections in 3 days' time, Iruka-sensei, Jaani, Naruto said. Iruka hesitated before asking, Hokage-sama, is the Yondaime really Naruto's father? As Iruka nodded curtly and disappeared in a shunshin, body flicker, Hiruzen groaned, yes, I am afraid so. Please keep what has happened here to yourself and you are not to reveal it to anyone on pain of death. You are dismissed, Iruka. Alongside Naruto, he smirked as he turned to face the giggling monster as Naruto and Akane emerged via a shadow portal right in front of the Namikaze estate's gates. I knew it, my little act caused the old sap to feel guilty enough to cave into my demands almost instantly, replied Naruto. Before Naruto drew her into a kiss, Akane smirked and said, and I like the new you, so much more spontaneous and demonic. Who knew that the Hokage was such an emotional old fool? A delightful chill ran down her spine as Naruto muttered into her ear, well, why don't I show you how much more demonic I can be? He reached out to push the gate wide but flinched back in surprise when a shock went through his arm. Damn, I forgot about the seal, he said. When the seal matrix appeared on the gate, Naruto bit his thumb once more before swiping it on it. It first glowed yellow before turning green. Naruto then grabbed Akane's bridal style and kicked open the gate, which automatically closed and secured behind the two of them as they entered the estate. As he carried Akane to the second floor, Naruto marveled at the 3-story house, which had been kept up nicely despite being deserted for the last 12 years. As Naruto passed several rooms before locating the one he was seeking, the master bedroom, he thought, there must have been some sort of seal invented by either dear old dad or mom. With a playful growl, Naruto placed the demon on the king-sized bed and asked, what do you think we call our new home Akaneheim? I say I like the way you think Naruto-kun, Akane said with a sultry grin before pulling Naruto into a kiss and beginning to undress him. Life has significantly improved, Naruto thought, grinning. Naruto yelled mockingly, come on Akane-chan, we wouldn't want to be late for the all-important team selections now would we? She wore tight black jeans and a crimson tank top with the kanji for Vixen on the front. She wore black fingerless gloves, the left of which reached up to her elbow. Her hair fell freely down her back, and she tied her forehead protector around her left bicep instead. Of course we wouldn't, now how do I look? Akane asked as she came down the stairs and performed a little twirl. Naruto murmured to his buddy, I wonder how funny their reactions will be when they realize that you're the Kyuubi no Yoko and I'm the demon brat. The picture in her head made Akane laugh. Probably something involving mass panic and screaming about killing the demon brat and his whore, she said. Naruto smiled at the demon, saying, well, I see the academy ahead, shall we see what team we are on, my dear? With an identical smile, Akane answered, why I believe we should, as they made their way to the academy. In the class of Iruka, Iruka sighed as he observed his students interacting with one another. He had no idea how 3/4 of the class would succeed as shinobi, and he could only identify a small number of them who truly deserved and could become shinobi. That's about it, and even these few have some issues to resolve, Iruka scowled. Nara Shikamaru, Akimichi Chuji, Aburame Shino, Inazuka Kiba, and Uchiha Sasuke. Iruka looked at the rest of the class and said, Shikamaru is brilliant but lazy like all the men in his clan, Chuji is strong and talented but too kind for his own good, Shino needs to open up more, Kiba is too brazen and headstrong, and Sasuke, well, I don't even know where to begin with him. As Irika looked at the girl with the pink hair and the big forehead, he thought, Haruno Sakura has extreme fangirl syndrome and only passed the test barely thanks to her book smarts and her mother being on the council. Looking at the blonde girl, Irika thought, Yamanaka Ino, falls into fangirl category as well, though much better than Sakura, has the potential to surpass her father if only she trained harder. Irika pondered as he gazed at the Hyuga heiress, Hyuga Hinata, not a fangirl, okay still a fangirl but of a different person, too shy and lack of confidence, also too kind for her own good. Irika groaned as he quietly performed hand seals beneath his desk, saying, I just hope their Jounin senseis can knock their bad habits out of them, oh well, time for an announcement. Using the demon head enlargement technique, Irika yelled, shut up and get back to your seats. The class suddenly fell silent as they rushed to their seats. All right, class, today we have 2 extra participants in the team selections and before you complain, they have been approved by Hokage-sama himself so if you have a problem take it up with him, Irika said, causing the few students who appeared ready to object to calm down. You 2 can come in now, she said. As the doors slowly opened and 2 students entered, the class watched in silence. Almost everyone in the room flushed at the 2 figures. The men were staring and some were drooling at the red-haired beauty who entered, while the women were ogling and some were drooling at the attractive man. Before he braced himself, Irika declared, Class, I would like to introduce you to Uzumaki Naruto and Uzumaki Akane. With the exception of Shino and Shikamaru, who merely raised an eyebrow and were too indolent to care, the entire class erupted in astonishment and surprise when someone said, Nanny? Sakura screamed like the howler monkey from whom she was descended, Irika-sensei, what is Naruto Baka doing here? He failed the genin exams, remember? Naruto himself interrupted Irika, saying, well he passed a secret test made by Hokage-sama himself. Mizuki was actually a traitor who used me to steal the forbidden scroll of seals from the Hokage tower but I stopped him after I figured it out and the old man promoted me to genin for that, Naruto stated in a single sentence. Sakura attempted to punch Naruto, but he simply yawned and sidestepped before grabbing her by the hair and hurling her across the room and into the back wall. Everyone stared at him, not because of his strength, but because he threw his Sakura-chan across the room and into a wall. Irika stroked his temple and moaned, what Naruto said is true, and can someone please get Sakura out of the wall? The day had only just begun, and he could already feel a headache developing. Kiba looked at Akane and said, Yo Naruto, you didn't tell me you had a super hot sister. Akane-chan isn't my sister, she is my mate so stop eyeing her unless you want me to rip out your eyeballs and shove them up your ass. Naruto barked at him. Oh shit, sorry about that man, Kiba said right away because he was a member of the Inuzuka clan, who knew that taking someone else's mate, especially a friend's, was forbidden. Hinata, who reddened from being the center of attention, was the source of the class's attention as a frightened voice squeaked out, a mate? Yes, my mate, as in my life companion, the person who I sleep with and eventually bear my children, do I need to explain further? Replied Naruto. No, Naruto-kun H has a G girlfriend anh he already slept W with H her. Hinata raced out of the room, sobbing, feeling as though tears threatened to cloud her vision. Any more questions? Naruto inquired, seemed unconcerned. Sakura screamed, forgetting that Naruto had thrown her across the room, Naruto Baka, how dare you treat Hinata like that? She loved you since the academy started and you just dumped her aside. So? Naruto asked indifferently. Everyone covered their ears in agony as Sakura screamed even louder, "What do you mean so?" Naruto growled as he glared at her and let out a tiny bit of his murderous intent. Sakura paled and swallowed uneasily but nodded her head. "First off, Haruno, stop screeching like a fucking monkey or I swear I will rip out your vocal box and send you home to your stupid mother piece by piece," Naruto said. Naruto gave her a serious look and said, "Good. Now I ask you why when I ask you for a date before, you never accept and hit me instead." I love Sasuke-kun and I don't love you," struggled Sakura, uncertain whether that was the right response. Toward the end, Naruto's voice turned demonic as he recalled all the times he was alone and no one was there to support or console him. "Correct. So why should I accept her so-called love when I don't love her back? More importantly, why didn't she tell me before? I'm sure everyone noticed that I am an orphan and how the villagers ignore me, so why didn't she offer me her companionship when I needed it, huh? Tell me what kind of love is that?" After Akane murmured in his ear, "Calm down Naruto-kun, we don't want to scare the cute little genins," Naruto inhaled deeply and allowed his anger to fade. Naruto strolled to the rear of the class and sat in the vacant seat next to Shikamaru. Akane simply plopped down on his lap, causing several of the male students to complain about lucky bastards. "Thanks Akane-chan, let's go take a seat shall we?" Naruto said. Leaning his head slightly away from the table, Shikamaru remarked languidly, "Yo Naruto, what's with the change?" "Felt like it," Naruto shrugged in response. As Irika called out the various teams, Shikamaru muttered, "Oh, troublesome," and fell back asleep, while Naruto merely ran his hands through Akane's hair and listened absently. Team 7 will consist of Uchiha Sasuke, Hn, Haruno Sakura, Cha true love prevails overall. Hey no fair Irika-sensei. Why does forehead girl get to be with Sasuke-kun? Shut up. The teams were decided by Hokage-sama, so complain to him if you've got a problem, and the final member is Sai, your Jounin sensei is Hatake Kakashi. Naruto couldn't help but remark when he noticed a very pale boy in tight-fitting clothing while scanning the room. Akane and most of the class laughed when Naruto grinned and stated, "The brooding king of the emos, Banshee McFlatchist and a closet gay, damn I pity the poor sap that has to teach you." With his trademark sneer, Sasuke said, "So says the failure of a ninja," which made his fan club go crazy. Sakura gazed heartily at Sasuke, saying, "Cha Sasuke-kun is right Naruto baka." Irika yelled, "Shut up. Naruto, stop antagonizing them." "Whatever you say sensei," Naruto murmured nonchalantly as he carried on teasing Akane's hair, eliciting a purr of gratitude from the demon. Team 8 will consist of Inuzuka Kiba, Aburame Shino and Hyuga Hinata. Your Jounin sensei is Yuhi Kurinai. Will someone find Hinata and tell her? Team 9 is still active from last year, so Team 10 will be Nara Shikamaru, Akimichi Chuji and Yamanaka Ino. Your Jounin sensei is Sarutobi Asuma. What? I get stuck with Lazy Boy and the fat kid. Ino yelled. I am not fat, just chubby. Troublesome. While Irika was saying, "Shut up." Now Team 11 will consist of Uzumaki Naruto and Uzumaki Akane only. Your Jounin sensei is Mitarashi Anko. Sasuke interrupted once more. Naruto snorted in laughter as Sasuke demanded, "Hey, why does the dobe get special treatment but I, Uchiha Sasuke an elite, don't?" Naruto grinned at Sasuke's angry expression. "If the Uchiha clan is so great, then where the fuck are they?" "Oh, that's right, your brother killed them all single-handedly," "Elite's my ass," Naruto said. As he went through multiple hand seals, Sasuke yelled, "How dare you speak of my clan in that manner, I'll show you the power of the Uchiha clan." Before Iruka could stop him, Sasuke launched a massive ball of fire directly at Naruto, who only raised one hand in response. Katan, Bukakya no Jutsu. Fire release, grand fireball technique. Everyone in the class gaped once more as Naruto whispered, "Hado number 33, Sukatsui, Hado number 33, blue fire," crashed down, as a head-sized ball of blue fire shot from his palm, colliding with the larger fireball and canceling it out. Naruto had just used an unidentified technique without any hand seals, and it was successful in canceling out a Gakakyu no Jutsu. Now there is an hour interval before your Jounin senseis arrive, so you can go get something to eat before reporting back to the academy, Iruka yelled as he finally awoke, causing Sasuke to sneer at him but sit back down. "Sasuke, stand down this instant or I will send you to Hokage-sama for attacking a fellow Konoha shinobi." Shikamaru's eyes widened in amazement at this, but he chose to ask Naruto later. "Sure thing sensei," Naruto smiled as he scooped up Akane bridal style and slipped into a shadow portal. The office of the Hokage. The entire episode was watched by the Jounin senseis, who were gathered around the Sandame's crystal ball. Some of them were grumbling about the demon brat criticizing the Uchihas. "Hokage-sama, it is clear that the demon brat is out to make trouble for Uchiha-sama. You should suspend his shinobi license immediately." A random Jounin yelled. Everyone turned to see Anko leaning against the wall and nibbling on a dango stick while a voice from the back yelled, "He will do no such thing. If anyone deserves to have their shinobi license revoked, it should be that Uchiha brat." Hiruzen gave her a nice grin and said, "Ah, Anko, I see you made it." Anko approached the crystal ball, which had stopped when Naruto unleashed an unidentified attack, and said, "Whatever, old man, so those two were the ones you told me about?" Hiruzen said, "Yes, I trust you don't have any problems." As she disappeared in a whirl of leaves, Anko grinned and said, "None at all, now if you excuse me, I have to go greet my team." The other Jounin, with the exception of one, filed out of the office. Hiruzen turned to face the tall, silver-haired masked Jounin, who was staring at the wall clock. "Kakashi, don't you have a team as well?" "Yes, but I still have 3 hours to go," Kakashi said languidly, making the elderly Hokage perspire at the response. "Hokage-sama, why wasn't Uzumaki Naruto placed on my team even though I requested him?" Kakashi asked, looking at him gravely with his uncovered eye. "There are 2 reasons for me doing so, the first being something occurred on the night of Mizuki's betrayal that completely changed Naruto, as you would have noticed, and before you ask, I am not allowed to tell you what happened. The second reason is that both Naruto and Anko had led difficult lives, and I hope that by placing them together, they will find something akin to comfort in each other," Hiruzen said while puffing on his pipe. "Contemplate the matter. While that is true, I wanted to train Minato-sensei's child, but instead you stuck me with, and I quote, the brooding king of the emos, Banshee McFlatchist and a closet gay," Kakashi said with a little shiver. "I understand how you feel, Kakashi, but the council has me overruled on the decision that you are to train the Uchiha, and you saw what would happen if Naruto is on the same team as him," Hiruzen said as he pointed to the frozen crystal object. "Besides, I want you to keep your eye on Sai. I believe that he is a member of Danzo's root organization." With his arms folded across his chest and leaning against the wall behind him, Kakashi questioned, "Root huh? What do you want me to do?" Hiruzen took another drag and stated, "Just report any suspicious behavior and keep an eye on the Uchiha as well. Report to me if his conduct becomes too aggressive." After saying, Understood Hokage-sama. Kakashi departed via Shunshin. Returning to the classroom. From his seat, Naruto watched the boisterous class, but he moaned when Akane moved in his lap. He caught her by the waist to prevent her from moving needlessly. Naruto murmured in her ear, "Stop moving, Akane-chan." Akane pouted and said, "Fine, fun killer," but Naruto simply laughed, turned her around so she was facing him, and began a full-fledged make-out session. Most of the class watched with similar blushes as the couple proceeded to ignore them, but some had different ideas. Sasuke plotted in his own mind, "How dare that dope insult the might of the Uchihas, I have to find a way to pay him back. I know, I will take his girlfriend from him and fuck her right in front of him. In addition, she is beautifully attractive and appears strong, making her the ideal candidate to revive the Uchiha clan with. It is foolish of Naruto Baka to disparage Sasuke-kun and his greatness. We will beat him up cha if he insults Sasuke-sama. You idiot, you have two personalities. Go back to your hole," Sakura conflicted with herself. As she watched the two continue their make-out session, Hinata snarled angrily in her head, "That dumb bitch must have convinced my Naruto-kun to sleep with her, because everyone knows that Naruto-kun is mine and I loved him much longer than that dumb red-haired slut. Troublesome, but could you two stop, the Jounin senseis are about to arrive," the two said, turning to Shikamaru, who was blushing slightly. They all asked at once, "Why?" which made Shikamaru blink. Shikamaru put his head back on the desk and moaned, "Never mind, troublesome people," as the Jounin senseis entered. A bearded Jounin smoked a cigarette and stated, "Team 10 meet me at the barbecue restaurant in 10 minutes, before exiting the room. I want my team to meet me at the local dango shop in 5 minutes, and if you're not there within that time frame, you will have to pay for my meal." Anko chuckled as she sprang out through a second window, breaking it in the process. Akane broke the stillness by saying, "She seems like a nice woman," which made everyone except Naruto stare at her as though she were angry. Naruto remarked, "I think so too, now let's get to that dango shop before I end up paying for her meal," as the two sank into another shadow portal. It took Sakura a few seconds to realize what was happening. "Where the hell is our sensei?" Dango store. Anko showed up at the door of her favorite dango store and entered. She noticed that she had been there for a minute by looking at the wall clock. It should take them another minute or so to arrive here, she thought, but was cut off by a recognizable voice. "Yo Anko-chan, what took you so long?" Anko asked, blinking and staring as she turned to see Naruto and Akane seated at a table, contentedly eating. Anko sat down next to the two and remarked, "How the hell did you two get here before me?" Naruto grinned at Anko's pout before she shrugged and took a stick of dango and chewed into it. Trade secret," Naruto said. Anko pointed to Akane and said, "The Jounin Sensei handbook says that we have to get to know each other better. Tell me your name, likes, dislikes, hobbies, and dreams." She suggested that she go first. Akane growled at the end, causing Anko to smile at her likes, blush at her hobbies, and look perplexed at her dreams. "My name is Uzumaki Akane. My likes include foxes, Naruto-kun, the color red, and watching my enemies suffer. My dislikes include the Uchihas, their Kekei Genkai, and assholes. Hobbies are training and fucking Naruto-kun. Dreams for the future are to bear Naruto-kun's children and kill a certain Uchiha," explained Akane. Anko blushed slightly when Naruto said, "My name is Uzumaki Naruto, and my likes include Akane-chan, Shinigami, foxes, the color black, my sword, and watching my enemies suffer. My dislikes are the same as Akane-chan's plus most of the village." Hobbies are training and fucking Akane-chan. Dreams for the future are to help Akane-chan accomplish hers, get a big family, and meet the Shinigami. Akane nodded her head in agreement as Naruto grinned and said, I think we are going to get along just fine. Akane dozed as she walked with Naruto, who turned to her with a worried expression. I think so too. Now I want you to meet me at Training Grounds 44 first thing tomorrow morning for a test, Enko said as they exited the store and parted ways. As he walked down the street, Naruto whistled before abruptly throwing 3 kunai behind him. He turned around to see Konohamaru emerge from behind a large piece of paper painted to resemble a fence. You must be tired after today since you're still recovering your power. Why don't you head back and rest first since I have some things to do, Naruto said to the fox Demoness, who gave him a grateful look as she disappeared in a swirl of flames. He remarked, he, very impressive to have seen through my cover, it seems the rumors about you are true. As he came out from behind the paper, Naruto sighed quietly, remembering what had transpired that led to their meeting. Great, him again. Jutsu no flashback. Naruto went through the window into the Hokage's office and said, Yo old man, I'm here to submit mine and Akane-chan's shinobi registration forms. Hiruzen laughed as he grabbed the 2 sheets of paper from him and read them. Oh Naruto-kun, right on time, just hand them over for me to check, he said. At least your new attitude works better for your shinobi career. I swear you would have messed up your picture if you had your old attitude, he said. As he leaned against the wall next to the Hokage's desk, Naruto said solemnly, I would have, but I'm not the old me anymore. Hiruzen studied the paper again and said, all right, everything seems to be in order except why does Akane have your surname? Akane-chan doesn't have a surname so I gave her mine since we are mates, said Naruto. Hiruzen said, won't that seem suspicious to your classmates? Naruto simply snorted in response. Like I give a damn what they think, just pass me the headbands and I'll be on my way, Naruto said as he approached the Hokage's desk and took the 2 headbands that the Sandaime had taken from a drawer. But before he could get out, the door flew open, and a small boy with a shuriken and a helmet ran into the room. The child yelled, fight me, old geezer, but stumbled over his own scarf and fell to the ground, leading Naruto to laugh out loud and the Sandaime to tilt his hat to hide his shame. As the child rubbed his helmeted head, he exclaimed, Itai. Who set a trap? Just then, a jounin wearing shades burst into the room. The Kyubi brat, how I loathe him, the jounin exclaimed before he saw Naruto. Are you alright? And there isn't a trap anywhere. Pointing to a laughing Naruto, the child yelled, I know. You are the one who set the trap. Naruto lifted him up by his shirt and yelled, you moron, you tripped over your own scarf. The jounin said, hey. I demand that you let the honorable grandson of Hokage-sama go. Naruto looked from the Hokage to Konohamaru and said, so this is the Konohamaru you told me about, old man? Now that you know, let me go. Konohamaru fought to free himself, but he felt to himself, he won't dare to hurt me now that he knows who I am, he's just like Ebisu and everyone else. The young boy clutched the region in agony as Naruto slapped him above the head, asking, you think I care? He could be your freaking grandmother and it wouldn't make a damn difference to me. As the Sandaime groaned, Ebisu yelled in indignation, how dare you strike the honorable grandson? When Naruto finished saying, whatever, see you around old man, he leaped out the window, and Konohamaru gazed at it, thinking, he's not like the others. Jutsu Kei no flashback. He was startled out of his memory by Konohamaru's voice, hey, I'll make you my boss. Wah. Naruto blinked, trying to figure out what the hell the child was discussing. Konohamaru exclaimed excitedly, and in exchange, you have to teach me how to defeat Gramps. Naruto snarled impatiently, listen, kid, I have more important things to do than train you. Shit, the signature has started to move closer towards the village. Konohamaru pleaded on his knees, come on, please. Before taking off across the rooftops, Naruto pointed to Konohamaru, who had stars for eyes upon viewing the jutsu, and said, ugh fine. Kagebushin no jutsu. Clone, I want you to teach him. Naruto stopped on a tree branch just outside of Konoha and said, damn, where did that dumb signature go now? Shit. Naruto said as he leaped away from the tree and landed on another tree branch after a massive white creature with an odd mask and a hole in its chest crashed into it. So this is a hollow. Damn, you're ugly, he said. Black chakra moved about Naruto and engulfed him before subsiding to show that he was dressed in the same attire he had on the night of the Mizuki incident. The hollow simply rose again and shouted at him. Now let's see how much of a bad boy you really are. Naruto smiled as he pulled out his katana and spun it around once before lowering himself into a sword stance. The hollow roared and charged him on all fours, and Naruto observed that it was surprisingly swift for a creature of its size. Naruto used his arms to block a punch, but the force of the blows sent him crashing into a tree trunk, coughing as he climbed out of the rubble. The hollow shouted and attempted lengthy swiping blows with its claws. Naruto parried or avoided the attacks with his katana, growled, and changed posture as the hollow charged him. Note to self, don't try that again, Naruto moaned. The hollow fell dead in two parts as Naruto swung past it and sheathed his blade, exclaiming, Kuroryu no Tsum. Black Dragon's Claw. Naruto smiled and said, I have to thank the Shinigami for all those techniques just from absorbing a soul shard, but the smile vanished when he realized that there were 5 distinct hollows all around him. He then made a covert cross-shaped hand seal. Naruto jumped back a few steps, raised both of his hands, and began channeling his Ryatsu as he chanted, Kagebushin no Jutsu. 5 clones then appeared from the smoke and engaged each hollow. Sanzai Suru, Komona no Hon. Sento, Kosho, Kotetsu no Sharon, Yugokiba Kaze, Tamariba Sora, Yariatsu Nairo Ga Kojo Enai Michiru. Sprinkled on the bones of the beast. Sharp tower, red crystal, steel ring, move and become the wind, stop and become the calm, the sound of warring spears fills the empty castle. Naruto chanted as the yellow Ryatsu formed to his palms. Naruto yelled, Hado number 63, Raikoho. Thunder roar cannon, as a tremendous burst of lightning erupted from his hands and struck the cluster of hollows engaged in combat with his clones. The ensuing explosion ripped through the earth as the clones scattered and Naruto observed the hollows being destroyed by the Kido spell. Naruto, panting a little from using such a high-level Kido, muttered, I need to practice using Ryatsu some more, that spell really took some effort. He leaped down from the tree branch and began to make his way back to Konoha, saying, I better get some rest because I have to fight Enko-chan tomorrow morning. Training Grounds 44, also known as the Forest of Death, the next day. As he and Akane waited for their team's sensei to arrive, Naruto yawned and stretched. They didn't have to wait long because Enko, a tan blur, dropped down in front of them. Kakashi sneezed somewhere in Konoha as Enko said, I'm so glad my genin knows what it means to be on time unlike a certain tardy jounin I happen to know. Naruto inquired, so what sort of test are we doing today? It's supposed to be sort of test that is testing your ability to work as a team, but looking at you two, I say you have no problems doing that, Anko replied with a wink that caused the pair to giggle. So I'm just going to test your skills in a 2-on-1 spar that ends when I call it. So whenever you're ready. Akane rushed in and tried a leg sweep, but Anko jumped over it and threw a kick at Naruto, who blocked it with his free hand. Akane sent a snap kick at Anko's chin, but the snake mistress simply tipped her head back slightly, grabbed her leg, and threw her at Naruto. Naruto disappeared from the scene and appeared next to Anko, who blinked in surprise but swiftly blocked the right hook that was aimed at her face. As he lifted Akane into his arms and got her back on her feet, Naruto grunted and slid back a little. He turned back to face Anko, who was grinning at them. Anko taunted, "You got to do better than that if you want to touch this lady." Naruto simply smiled as he turned to face Anko and launched a flurry of punches and kicks at her, which she either avoided or deflected. Akane then entered the battle and timed her punches and kicks with Naruto's, alternating attacks until, at last, a fist from Naruto struck Anko in the stomach, causing her to gasp and stagger back a little. Anko grinned as she slammed her palms into the ground, creating a seal matrix, and ran through multiple hand seals. Much better, now let's see some techniques. Kuchiyos no Jutsu. Summoning technique. Naruto and Akane tensed as a huge cloud of smoke filled the clearing, revealing a giant black and purple snake. The snake hissed and sprang forward like a lightning bolt, and they just managed to dodge it in time. Akane leaped into the air over the snake and completed her hand seals as Naruto said, "Damn, this snake is fast," as he flipped over another lightning-fast strike. While Anko gaped, Naruto whistled at the crater created by Akane's technique. Katan, Genkyu. Fire release, roaring flame sphere. Akane inhaled and spewed out a meteor-sized fireball that struck the snake, pushing it deeper into the ground before the sphere exploded in a huge explosion. Before stopping a mid-air spinning kick from Naruto, who altered his weight and twisted his body into a dropping axe kick, Anko yelled, that, it was a freaking A-rank technique. Naruto smiled as he said, "Boom." Anko's eyes widened as she pushed away from the rapidly expanding clone, but the explosion still managed to hit her, sending her rolling and skidding across the forest floor. She coughed to clear her lungs, and when she looked up, she saw Naruto and Akane running through two different sets of hand seals. She wasn't sure what they were doing, but it couldn't hurt to be safe, so she started hand seals for a defensive ninjutsu. Akane spit forth a little compressed ball of fire and said, "Katan, Tsukaku." Fire release, intelligent hard work. As she attempted to finish the hand seals as quickly as possible, Anko cursed as she watched the wind and fire techniques merge to create a roaring firestorm that raced towards her. Futon, Atsugai. Wind release, pressure damage. Naruto spat out a compressed sphere of wind chakra. Doton, Dorihiki. Earth release, earth-style wall. Anko smashed both palms down on the ground, and just as the combination technique was about to be blocked, a huge stone wall emerged from the ground. From a tree branch, Naruto and Akane observed as their combined technique collided with the stone wall, causing the firestorm to split in two and spread to either side of the wall. Akane simply shrugged as Naruto questioned, "You think we overdid it with that?" A voice called out behind them, "Sanaijishu." Hidden shadow snake hands, and the two discovered that snakes were coiling around them, holding their hands to their bodies. They turned to see a smiling Anko leaning against a tree trunk and holding out her hands to them. "Looks like I've caught you," she said. Naruto's voice screamed out behind her, "Bakudo number 4, Hainoa." Crawling rope, and Anko became tangled in an energy rope before Naruto approached from behind. When Naruto muttered, "No, it looks like I've caught you," right into her ear, Anko shuddered a little as his hot breath touched her ear. She turned to face the two she had grabbed, but they burst into flames. "Kage Bushin's huh? Alright, you two passed the test, so can you release the technique now?" Anko responded. Naruto teased, "What if I don't want to?" as he gave her a back hug, making her flush a little because she could feel his tight muscles. As Naruto planted a kiss on her neck, Anko said, "Don't you already have a girlfriend?" Naruto trailed off suggestively, "Akane-chan is my mate and she said that I am expected to have a harem." While Anko searched for Akane and saw her sitting on a tree branch, munching on a bucket of popcorn. Anko fought not to groan as Naruto softly stroked her body, asking, "Oh, did she now, and you thought I would be interested? Why?" Naruto's words made Anko cry because she recalled how Orochimaru had left her, how the villagers called her the snake bitch, and how lonely she felt because no one trusted her. "Well, let's see, shall we? We both are hated for something we can't control, the villagers despise us and call us names, we both had our lives screwed over by a seal, and most importantly, we both know what it feels like to be abandoned and lonely, need I say more?" Naruto released the binding spell, but his words had already taken effect as Anko clenched her fists and tears streamed down her face. "No matter how hard we try, there will always be doubt in their hearts, but I know how it feels like, the stares, the whispers behind your back, the disgust in their eyes." Anko whimpered softly, why don't they accept me? I tried so hard to prove my loyalty." While Naruto calmly stroked her hair. "It's alright, Anko-chan, who needs their approval? I accept you for who you are, I don't see you as Orochimaru's ex-student or the snake bitch, but as Mitarashi Anko, a beautiful and deadly kunoichi," Naruto replied with affection. "Whoa, Naruto might be able to pursue acting as a side gig. He's going for the kill." As she munched on her popcorn, Akane pondered. Anko gasped as Naruto caressed the area where her curse seal was. "And if that doesn't convince you, I can always remove this little seal from you." "Why, you can really do that?" Anko inquired, her eyes full of hope. "By saying, 'Of course I can, Naruto. Please, remove it, I'll do anything. I'll be your slave, you can fuck me whenever you want, but please, just remove it," Anko begged. "All I want, is for you to accept my offer of being my next mate," Naruto said, tilting her head upward and gazing into his amethyst-slitted pupils. Anko said, "I accept, Naruto-kun," which made Naruto smile as he leaned in to plant a kiss on her lips. "Good now, this might sting a bit," Naruto warned her as he channeled his Yuki into his fangs and began to drain the Orochimaru soul shard from her curse seal. He then pulled his fangs out and spat into the grass, watching as the cursed seal gradually faded and eventually vanished. "It's gone," Naruto said. With tears streaming down her cheeks, Anko embraced him and said, "Arigato, Naruto-kun. I'm finally free of my burden, thank you so much." As Anko wiped away her tears with her sleeve, Naruto grinned and said, "That's my girl, shoo, it's okay, Anko-chan, you have to report to the Hokage soon about the test, come on." After 5 minutes, Hokage's office. Sarutobi Hiruzen smoked his pipe while examining the jounin who had reassembled in his office. They had just returned from a team test, and for once, Kakashi was unusually punctual. The Sandaime commanded, "Okay, I want your reports on your team." According to Genma, Team 1 failed, they were practically useless. Team 2 failed, they spent the entire time arguing instead of finding me, remarked Aoba. The Hokage listened as the Jounin senseis of teams 4 through 6 all reported failures, and then everyone stiffened as Kakashi came forward. Team 3 failed, they have no concept of teamwork at all, Hayate coughed. Kakashi groaned, Team 7, passed, albeit reluctantly. Hiruzen inquired, mind elaborating on that? Well, where to begin? Sasuke is a revenge-driven, egoistic, arrogant genin who expects everyone to bow to the might of the Uchiha clan. Sakura is his useless lapdog that has no skills whatsoever and only fawns over the Uchiha 24/7. They only passed because Sai gave Sakura some of his lunch after she was tied to the training post, Kakashi clarified. Telling the Genjutsu mistress, very well, please proceed Kurenai-san, Hiruzen. As Kurenai responded, Team 8 passed, they could use a little work though. Team 10 passed, they may not get along outside of combat but when in battle they work just as well as their fathers, Asuma said to his dad. Team 11 passed with flying colors, Enko grinned, taking in the intrigued expressions on the faces of the Hokage and her buddy. Hiruzen said, what did your team do to warrant such praise? He was aware of it but was unable to inform them of Naruto's existence. First off, I ranked their taijutsu at about Haichunin to low jounin rank and their teamwork is superb. Both showed they could perform B-rank ninjutsu while Akane did an A-rank technique. They also combined a wind and fire technique that created a huge firestorm. Naruto was able to capture me with an unknown binding technique that ended the test, Enko recalled, causing a number of reactions in the. Hiruzen grinned slightly behind his hands, which he used to conceal his mouth, saying, I would expect nothing less from the new Naruto and Kyuubi. Although I'm happy that Sensei's son is already so strong, I believe that he was classified as dead last in the academy records. In just a few days, how did he change so much? At least he got himself a hot girlfriend, so that's not for me to ponder, Kakashi said, letting out a twisted giggle within his thoughts. Enko had a kunai pointed at his groin as a random jounin spoke his view, leading many killing intents to be directed at him. Ha, the snake bitch must have felt sorry for the demon brat so she made up that story. We all know that the demon brat was dead last in the academy, he said. With narrowed eyes, Enko screamed at the man, who nodded fervently out of fear for his privates. You can insult me, but the moment you insult my genin is when you have crossed the line, so I recommend you think before you open your mouth lest you lose something important next time, he said. When did Ko-chan become so protective of a genin, including the local Jinchuriki? Kurenai pondered as she saw her friend's peculiar actions. The Hokage laughed to himself, he, I knew pairing Naruto and her would work out well. When Hiruzen said, thank you all for your reports, please report first thing tomorrow morning with your genin squad to collect your first mission, the assembled jounin were dismissed. Alongside Enko, Akane, and Naruto, the snake mistress on the tree next to them pouted and leaped down in front of them as Naruto said, so how did the meeting go, Enko-chan? Enko inquired, how did you know I was there? Enhanced senses, smirking, Naruto tapped his nose. So how was it? He asked. Enko laughed at the recollection, making Naruto and Akane perspire. It was okay, some punk insulted you so I threatened him with a kunai to his goods, but everything else was alright, Enko said. Naruto inquired, so who else passed their tests? Enko mentioned, Kakashi's team, Naichan's team, and Asuma's team barely passed. Ah, I sort of hoped that the Uchiha would fail, Akane said. Guess you can't always get what you want. Naruto grinned as a smile appeared on Akane's face. Cheer up, Akane-chan, look at it this way, now the Uchiha has a higher rate of dying on his missions, he said. Oh, speaking of missions, Old Man Hokage asked us to report in tomorrow morning for our first mission, Anko told them. The idea of painting a fence or pursuing a dumb cat made Naruto's eyebrows twitch. We're not going to do those lame-ass D-rank missions, are we? Mitarashi Anko pumped her fist into the air, making Naruto and Akane laugh. Hey, who do you think I am? Mitarashi Anko will never do D-ranks and neither will her awesome team. Anko flinched a little when Naruto said, Hey Anko-chan, how is the place you're staying at? But that was all he needed to see. Pack your stuff, you're coming to leave with Akane and me at the estate, Naruto said. Estate? Repeated Anko. Oh right, I haven't told you yet. Naruto sighed as he started his lengthy account of what had happened from the night of the Mizuki betrayal until they first met her, including the fact that he was half Shinigami and half demon and no longer human. Now that you know all that, does it change your opinion about me? He asked. Anko whispered, Is what you said in the afternoon true? Naruto answered, Yes, every word, and Anko drew him in for a kiss. Then nothing has changed between us, my loyalty is now to you, not to this village, Anko spit out harshly. Thanks Anko-chan, Naruto said with a sincere smile to the snake mistress. Now go pack your bags and meet me outside the Namikaze estate in half an hour time, he said, acknowledging that even a demon needs love. After 30 minutes, the Namikaze house's interior left Anko speechless. It resembled a daimyo's royal palace more than a home. Naruto had told her that Akane was already asleep while assisting her with packing in the master bedroom. Anko said, aren't you and Akane already using the room? And don't worry about anyone breaking in or anything like that, since only people I have keyed into the seal are allowed to enter the premises, Naruto said candidly, because the room and the bed are big enough for us to share, so why should I let you sleep alone? Anko's already growing love for him grew even more. Wait, if there was a blood seal and you were no longer human, then how did you activate the seal as well as the one on the Yandame's picture? Anko said when she realized what had happened. As Anko shrugged, Naruto grinned and allowed him to use the shower. He stripped down to his boxers and sat down next to Akane. Very astute of you Anko-chan, I simply used my Yuki to overload the seal matrix and caused it to reset to my new DNA signature. Something as simple as that is child's play to me, Naruto said. Before they fell asleep, Anko emerged in a black nightgown, climbed into bed next to Naruto, and cuddled up in his right arm while Akane grabbed his left. Naruto didn't want to wake them up yet, so he performed a sealess kawarimi, substitution, with a pillow that had been haphazardly left on the floor. Naruto yawned as he stretched his arms and back before entering the bathroom, pausing in the middle of his stride to gaze at his own reflection in the mirror. Naruto woke up to the pleasant sensation of 2 sets of S being pressed into both of his arms. Naruto took off his shirt and grinned because his body, which had been thin and undernourished, had buffed out from absorbing Akane's Yuki. Damn, I sure look different since the fusing. He thought as his slitted amethyst pupils gazed back at him instead of his original sky blue pupils. After splattering some water on his face, Naruto entered the shower and let out a satisfied sigh as the hot water ran down his body and splashed against his flesh. A tiny smile appeared on Naruto's face as his thoughts strayed to the 2 women on his bed. To have 2 beautiful women beside me, I must be the luckiest goo demon alive, or half alive at any rate, he thought. I never would have known the comfort of a hot shower if I had stayed in that run-down apartment, stupid landlord sabotaging the water heater, at least things have been looking up since the fusion, he thought. After drying his black-streaked blonde hair with a towel after getting out of the shower, Naruto returned to the bedroom to see Anko and Akane squeezing the pillow between their cleavages. Before forming a Kagebushin and kissing both of his mates on the lips until they woke up, Naruto snickered, "That must be the luckiest pillow in the world." "Rise and shine, ladies, we have to report into the old man's office in half an hour," he said. Reluctantly, they both climbed out of bed and took turns using the shower while Naruto went downstairs to the kitchen, muttering a few curses and grousing. Anko questioned the demon as she descended the stairs next to her. "Hey, what's that smell?" Akane said, "Oh, that's just Naruto fixing breakfast." He picked up cooking surprisingly well, as they both went into the kitchen and saw Naruto placing a stack of pancakes in the center of 3 plates on the table. With a few pauses of conversation here and there, Naruto said, "Morning ladies, eat up quickly since we have an appointment," as the 3 of them sat down to eat their breakfast. Naruto made multiple clones to help with the dishes, and he grabbed both of their shoulders before shadow walking them into the Hokage's office. The Sandaime was cut off before he could say anything more. "Ah, Team 11, you're the first to arrive, so you have first pick of the mission. You can walk the Inuzuka's dogs, mow a law, paint a fence, catch Toradashe." The sinister chuckle that Naruto gave, "Old man, I swear if you give us any of those lame-ass chores you call D-ranks that I will kill the person who requested them and use their corpse for my kenjutsu practice," seemed to slightly arouse Akane and Anko. Since he didn't want to be held responsible for civilian deaths and felt this crew could handle it, Hiruzen offered, "How about a C-rank instead?" "Now you're talking," Naruto said as he received the assignment scroll and departed through the shadow portal with his 2 companions, leaving a perplexed Irika and a disinterested Sandaime behind. "Are you sure it was wise to give a rookie team a C-rank, Hokage-sama?" Irika inquired. Hiruzen's response made Irika laugh uneasily and scratch the back of his head in shame. "Irika. Anko is a Jounin, Akane was the Kyuubi, and Naruto is half demon and half Shinigami. Are you seriously telling me they can't handle a C-rank?" With Naruto and the others, as they assembled around the dining table after Naruto had shadow walked them back to the mansion, Akane said, "So what does the mission scroll say, Naruto-kun?" It says to eliminate a bandit camp that had been spotted along a popular merchant's trading route and have been harassing the traders," Naruto said as he read from the scroll. "Ah, bandit elimination, the most common C-rank mission, also known as misplaced aggression mission," Anko said, laughing at her team's inquisitive expressions. Naruto raised an eyebrow and asked, "Misplaced aggression mission?" "Yup. If a Jounin had a bad day or is in a foul mood, they would take this mission to release their anger upon the unsuspecting bandits," Anko said with a grin. Akane grinned as they parted ways to get the supplies needed for the expedition ready. "Oh, sounds fun. The gate of Konoha." Naruto paused at the gate and glanced about before realizing he was the first person there. He shrugged and decided to wait. Shortly after, he saw Akane and Anko approaching the gate, and he saw that Akane was also carrying a katana sheathed at her waist. As they approached within hearing range, Naruto remarked, "I didn't know you had a zanpakuto as well." Akane looked down at her katana and said, "I do, but never really had a chance to use it very often, due to being sealed up and all." Anko questioned bewilderedly, "I thought only the Shinigami and people with Shinigami's power could have a zanpakuto?" "Not entirely true. A zanpakuto is a manifestation of your spiritual power, so technically anyone who trains their Ryatsu enough will be able to acquire one," Naruto clarified. Anko said, "So if I train this Ryatsu thing, I can get a cool sword too?" "I guess so. Ryatsu is basically the spiritual half of chakra and is denser and more potent than it. This makes it harder to manipulate and control, but the results are much more efficient in comparison," Naruto was thinking. "I'll see if there is any way you can tap into your Ryatsu safely, if that works out then we'll work from there. Anko disappeared in a flash of movement, swiftly followed by Naruto and Akane into the bandit camp. Fair enough, now let's go kill us some bandits. After an hour, Naruto was crouching on a tree branch a few meters above the ground, watching the bandits move around in the clearing where they had made their camp. He turned to see Anko and Akane crouching on their own branches, and Anko turned to face him and instructed him to carry out the plan using ninja sign language. As he leaped down into the center of the camp with Anko and Akane at his sides, Naruto laughed to himself, hee hee hee, as if charging in and killing everyone could be called a plan. When the three figures unexpectedly appeared in the center of their camp, one robber cried out, "What the fuck?" Another bandit questioned, "Who the fuck are they? You filth are not even worthy to die by my blade, so you will have to settle for my hands instead." Naruto smiled as the three of them divided up to face the bandits. "Who are we, you say?" "Well, that's simple, we are your death," he said, channeling Yuki into his hands, which caused his claws to extend. With a dark chuckle, Naruto licked the blood from his hand, making the bandits around him shiver uncontrollably. Naruto ran directly at a bandit and delivered a Yuki-enhanced punch to his head, completely punching it off his neck and sending a fountain of blood spraying out. Disgusting blood, now who's next? Naruto looked up, and the bandits noticed his slitted amethyst pupils glowing with demonic power. He used his bare hand to block a sword strike and yanked on the blade so hard that the bandit's arms ripped off at the elbows. Naruto smiled as he accepted one of the man's severed hands and repeatedly slapped him with it. "Why are you hitting yourself?" he asked. In an attempt to overpower the psychopath in their midst, the other bandits charged him together, but Naruto simply grabbed the bandit's head and tore it off before hurling it directly at another bandit and striking him in the jewels. Naruto staggered forward a little as he saw multiple blades protruding from his body. The remaining bandits screamed in terror as they dropped their weapons and attempted to flee. "Oh, none of that escaping shit for you," the bandits said as they watched in horror as Naruto simply pulled out the swords and the wounds closed up in front of their eyes. Naruto then flicked the sword in the direction of a stunned bandit, piercing him right through the head before the momentum tore it off and pinned it to the tree trunk behind him. As blue spiritual energy gathered around both of his palms, Naruto chanted, "Chiniku no Kamen, Bansho, Habataki, Hito no na o Kensu mano yo. Saka no Kaben I Soren o Kazamu, Taika no Fuchi o Enten nit Matsu. Ye Lord! Mask of blood and flesh, all creation, flutter of wings, ye who bears the name of man. On the wall of blue flame, inscribe a twin lotus, in the abyss of conflagration, wait at the far heavens," Naruto chanted as blue spiritual energy gathered around both of his palms. Grinning, he pointed each palm at the two distinct groups of escaping bandits. Naruto roared, "Heido number 73, Soren Sokatsui." Twin lotus blue fire crashed down, as two beams of blue flame struck each group of bandits. He grinned as they were gradually consumed by the blue flames, and he turned around to see Anko and Akane approaching him covered in blood. "Looks like you two had fun as well," Naruto said. Akane exclaimed joyfully, "Damn straight. I haven't let loose like this for Kami knows how long. No better way to start the day than soaking in the blood of your enemies," Anko said with a smile. "Now let's go report back and get our mission payment." The office of the Hokage. After killing the bandits, the Sandaime looked up and blinked as the three blood-soaked shinobi appeared through a portal in the center of the Hokage's office. Hiruzen sighed and did his best to ignore the blood that began to collect on the wooden floor. Something tells me that asking you what happened is going to give me a headache, so just take the payment and go clean up, he said. Naruto shyly rubbed his head and said, "All right, I was wondering if we could have another mission." Hiruzen nearly choked on his pipe at the request. "Another mission? You just completed your first C rank." Naruto trailed off in thought. "I could just fuck Akane. It was kind of easy and we don't have anything to do for the rest of the day." "I like the sound of that," Akane purred while massaging Naruto's arm. "I know. We can include Enko-chan and make it a threesome," she said. "That's an idea," Naruto thought as the sandaime was blown back by a nosebleed at the topic of conversation, and Enko flushed at the pictures in her head. The old man sighed with relief as Hiruzen threw a mission scroll at them, saying, "Here, take this mission. If they stayed in here any longer I might have died of blood loss." Speaking of blood, "Someone get in here and clean that puddle of blood on the floor." The Namikaze estate. After quickly showering and changing out of their blood-soaked clothes, the three had reconnected and were gathered around the dining table. Anko pulled her hair back into a pineapple ponytail and inquired, "So what's the mission now, Naruto-kun?" "I will handle this mission myself," Naruto said, stopping his reading as he spun on his heel and began to walk towards the door. Another C rank, this time concerning mysterious deaths near the forest surrounding a village to the west of Konoha. The bodies that had been found looked like they had been eaten. "What? We are a team and dash," Enko interrupted her complaint. "I know. However, this is something I can fight thanks to having Shinigami powers. The culprit is a creature known as a hollow. I will go into a more in-depth explanation when I return. For now you just have to know that only I am able to see these creatures," Naruto stated prior to entering a shadow portal. After an hour, with his Zanpakuto at his waist, Naruto walked through the forest, keeping watch with his enhanced senses. Naruto had just concluded his conversation with the village chief, who had informed him of their predicament regarding the deaths, and Naruto had promised to take care of it. Before a loud rumbling laughter permeated the jungle, Naruto thought, "Eating human souls directly, this hollow must be really brave or extremely foolish. Haha, what's this now? A human with Shinigami powers, now that is a strange sight indeed." The voice screamed. Naruto hissed, his voice taking on a demonic edge once more. "Only half right, I am a demon with Shinigami powers," he said. "Oh ho, a demon you say? Well, little demon, let me introduce myself. My name is Tijiro," Naruto said as a large humanoid figure, despite being 1 story tall, gracefully landed from a tree branch. Its mask included tiger-like markings, and its jaw section could unlatch and was full of sharp teeth. "So you're the one responsible for the deaths of the people in the village," replied Naruto. Tijiro answered, "I might be, what's it to you?" Naruto let the hollow figure out the rest on his own. "Well, I've been paid to eliminate whatever is doing that, so." Tijiro roared as he leaped at Naruto and tried to swipe him with his sharp claws, saying, "I see, well, let's see what a demonic Shinigami tastes like." Naruto sprang back from the tiger-like hollow, but Tijiro continued his unrelenting attack by leaping after him and slashing away with his claws. Naruto flipped over a claw swipe and landed on Tijiro's outstretched right arm before aiming a palm at his mask. "I'm still not that well versed in Kido. Without the incantation my spells aren't at max power, but this guy is too fast," Naruto said, launching a ball of crimson spiritual energy directly at Tijiro's mask in Hado number 31, Shikaho. Red flame cannon. After the fiery explosion knocked the large hollow back slightly with his face smoking. Tijiro roared, "Is that the best you got, boy?" as he rushed at Naruto from the smoke, his mask slightly singed but otherwise fine. Naruto drew his Zanpakuto and repelled the initial barrage of attacks before bracing himself and delivering a kick that struck Tijiro's chest, slightly knocking him away. Naruto made 6 shadow clones and used them to assault Tijiro, who was taken aback to see so many copies of his adversary. Naruto smiled at the distraction and started to channel his spiritual force into his palm. Kagebushin no Jutsu, he said. Sanzai Suru, Kimona no Hon. Sento, Kosho, Kotetsu no Sharon, Yugokiba Kaze, Tamariba Sora, Yarietsu Nairo Ga Kojo Enai Michiru. Sprinkled on the bones of the beast. Sharp tower, red crystal, steel ring, move and become the wind, stop and become the calm, the sound of warring spears fills the empty castle. Naruto chanted as yellow spiritual energy engulfed his entire right fist in an electrical orb. Naruto yelled, Hado number 63, Raikoho. Thunder roar cannon, as a concentrated force burst towards Tijiro, colliding with his chest before exploding in a deafening scream. As Tijiro pushed himself out of the tiny crater, he coughed, "You're better than I expected, boy." And saw Naruto disappear from the tree branch in a flash of speed before resurfacing next to him. "How?" he asked. With a laugh, Naruto mumbled, "Shuenpa, flash step," as he pointed a gun-like shape toward the back of Tijiro's head with his middle and index fingers out of a closed fist. "Bye-bye," he said. Naruto observed as the hollow collapsed on the floor and disintegrated, saying, "Well, that was interesting." A concentrated beam of bluish-white lightning blasted from his fingertips and passed through Tijiro's head and mask in Hado number 4, Byakurai, White Lightning. The office of the Hokage. Hiruzen sighed as he looked up from his paperwork to see Naruto standing there. "Naruto, I would appreciate it if you would actually enter my office using the door sometimes." Naruto put the assignment scroll on the Hokage's desk and said, "Meh, I'll use it when I feel like it," on a more serious note. "I want you to promise me that if any more missions like this one come up, you will give them to me." Reading the mission scroll once again, Hiruzen remarked in confusion, "For what reason do you want to do these kinds of missions?" "The creatures that are behind these disappearances are known as hollows. They can only be seen by people with Shinigami-like powers, so I am the only one who can accomplish these missions," Naruto said with seriousness. "Fine, if any of such missions do appear again, I will hand them to you directly." On another topic, what techniques did you use against Anko and in your missions? Hiruzen was puffing on his pipe. "Those can only be performed by Shinigami, so there is no point in explaining about them. See ya," Naruto said, waving before he leaped out the window and disappeared in a flash of speed. The Namikaze estate. When Naruto yelled, "I'm back," as he entered the front door, a tan blur instantly threw him to the ground, revealing Anko straddling his stomach. Anko insisted, "Start explaining, mister." As Anko pouted but leaped off and assisted Naruto in getting up, Naruto deadpanned, "I will once you get off my stomach." "Please get Akane-chan and meet me in the living room," Naruto said. Naruto sighed as he readied himself for a protracted explanation regarding hollows as he watched Anko nod and head off to fetch Akane. "Okay, now that we're all here, hollows are a race of creatures which are born from human souls who, for various reasons, do not cross over to the afterlife after their death and stay in the human world for too long. They are corrupt spirits with supernatural powers that devour the souls of both living and deceased humans." Naruto slowly clarified so that both women knew, hollows are former pluses, deceased human souls that lose their hearts to despair or remain in the real world for too long. The majority of ghosts peacefully move on to the afterlife after their deaths. Some, however, stay in the living world to fulfill certain goals, such as looking after a loved one, protecting a particular location, or pursuing a grudge from beyond the grave, however, with only limited abilities to interact with the living, and by definition tied to their goals. Many ghosts find they are unable to cope when their loved ones move on or old enemies forget them. At this point, some will become dangerously obsessed with fulfilling those goals, even if the means to fulfill them renders the soul empty. For example, killing anyone who comes near a loved one, in order to keep them from hurting that person. In doing so, the ghost warps into a hollow and, ironically, often makes the focus of their obsession into their first victim. Naruto repeated word for word from the memories he obtained through the Shinigami's soul shard. Anko questioned, "That's a lot to take in, so technically anyone can become a hollow?" Naruto nodded seriously, "Damn, that sucks. They are dangerous and can only be seen by people with high spiritual powers, such as myself. That's why I don't want you two to accompany me on missions regarding hollows," Naruto informed them. Akane tightened her fists, but Naruto simply pulled her into an embrace. "I guess you're right, it's just that I'm the Kyuubi no Yoko yet." "Well, look at it this way, we all have abilities that make us special, so mine just happens to involve hollows," Naruto reassured her. However, he was distracted by a bird pecking at the window, so he opened it and a messenger bird landed on his hand. Naruto then opened the small scroll the bird had been carrying and read the note. "Naruto, please come to my office right away. There's a problem with those hollows you told me about." Hokage Sandame, Naruto remarked, "Shit, sorry girls, but the old man just sent me a message concerning hollows," before sinking into a shadow gateway. Anko was able to catch Akane's faintly murmured words, "Be careful, Naruto. Is he merely interested in his power?" "It doesn't appear to be," Anko smirked to himself at the idea. The Hokage's office once again. Coming out of the darkness, Naruto said, "Yo old man, what's this about hollows?" Naruto, you're here." A team of Chunins I sent out on a mission just returned with only 2 of the original 4 members alive. They claim to have been attacked by an invisible creature on their way back from the mission. "I want you to investigate this," Hirozen said. Naruto nodded. Naruto inquired, "Where did this happen?" The team's report stated that the incident occurred near the deserted forest. They had been taking a break when one of their members was suddenly dragged away by an invisible foe, Hirozen wrote on a piece of paper. Naruto sank back into a shadow gateway that had developed beneath his feet and said, "I see, okay, I'll check it out." The forest is deserted. Naruto cautiously stepped out from a tree's shadow and looked around, noting the damaged trees and furrow marks that suggested a struggle. Naruto knelt beside a deep furrow and saw that it was farther to the south, indicating that the target had been dragged north. As he followed the trail, Naruto concluded that it must be a feral hollow and quite desperate to attack living humans who were gathered together. He briefly felt a flare of hollow energy signature, but it quickly disappeared. He scowled at the strange occurrence. Naruto abruptly rolled to the right as a tentacle smashed into the ground where he had been before, rising to a crouch and looking up. A hollow with a squid-like mask was crouching on a tree branch, its yellow slit-like eyes looking down at him. Its upper body was humanoid, but it had 4 tentacles for legs and 2 more for arms. Naruto grinned and said, "Man, you're one ugly sucker," but his mind was trying to figure out why he hadn't detected the hollow sooner. "I should be able to sense its presence, but all I'm reading is a void," he said. Because of this hollow's capacity to conceal its spiritual imprint, I detected a flare before it vanished. Naruto easily sidestepped the vertical tentacle swipe that the squid-like hollow made after roaring and retracting its tentacle before leaping over a horizontal tentacle swipe. Naruto flash-stepped next to the hollow but immediately retreated when the hollow blew out a dark purple mist from the mouth slit of its mask. Naruto murmured, "Talk about breath problems," as he inhaled deeply and went through a couple hand seals. Futon, de Tapa. Wind release, great breakthrough. Naruto released a tremendous gust of wind that effectively dispersed the poison mist that had been encroaching on him and further slammed the hollow into the tree trunk behind it. The wood broke under the impact as the hollow continued its trajectory and smashed into the sandy ground. Naruto wasted no time in running through more hand seals. Futon, Atsugai. Wind release, pressure damage. Naruto released a compressed ball of wind chakra that struck the ground and exploded into a powerful dome of hurricane-speed winds. He gazed into the smoke before sidestepping as a tentacle swung right through the area he had occupied. Naruto scowled when he noticed that the hollow only had minor cuts and bruises. As he formed two Kage Bushins and sent them to flank the hollow, Naruto thought, an attack of that caliber should have at least wounded him unless, it seems that hollows can only be hurt by Zanpakutus and Kido only. The hollow used its tentacle to swipe at a clone and connected, but the clone simply dispersed in a puff of smoke, and Naruto held up his right palm facing the hollow to distract the squid-like hollow. Kunrinsha yo. Chiniku no Kamen, Bansho, Habataki, Hito no na o Kensu mano yo. Shinetsu to Soren, Yumahidate Sakamaki Minami e to Ho-o Susumyo. Ye Lord. Mask of blood and flesh, all creation, flutter of wings, ye who bears the name of man. Inferno and pandemonium, the sea barrier surges, march on to the south. Naruto sang as the red spiritual energy formed an orange orb. Heido number 31, Shikaho. Red fire cannon. Naruto unleashed the spell in a broad stream of crimson energy that struck the hollow squarely. The hollow let out a cry of agony as its body began to burn, until finally nothing was left but a heap of ash. As he made his way back to the town to announce that he had successfully destroyed the hollow, Naruto gasped a little and said, "Damn, I hope there aren't any more hollow appearances today, expending this much Ryatsu is tiring me out." After 15 minutes, as he recalled how distraught they appeared as they approached the office, the Sandame waved off Team 7, which had just succeeded in completing their first D-rank mission, capturing Tora the cat. His thoughts were interrupted by a cough. With his arms folded, Naruto gazed at the Hokage and said, "I have dealt with the hollow at the deserted forest." As he threw him a bag of coins, Hiruzen said, "Very good Naruto-kun, take this as payment for a successful C-rank completion," which he caught. Naruto jumped out of the office window and said, "If that's all, I'm heading back now," which made the Hokage sigh. "Someday Naruto, I don't know when but someday I will find a way to force you to use my office door." Hiruzen made a promise. The Namikaze estate. Akane, who had been practicing, came over as Naruto entered the house and fell face first onto the living room couch with a weary moan. Akane indicated his prone position as Naruto turned over so he was facing the sky. "It's rare to see you this tired," he said. "It's because expending Ryatsu is different than using chakra. I have an unlimited supply of Yuki so I can't get exhausted, but Ryatsu is another thing completely, plus I discovered that the fucking hollows can only be hurt by a Zanpakuto or Kido spells, meaning ninjutsu is ineffective against them," said Naruto. "Speaking of Ryatsu, Enko has been wondering when you were going to test out her Ryatsu training with her," Akane stated to him. Akane shrugged as Naruto said, "I'll get on it when I don't feel like I have an Akimichi sitting on my back. Where is Enko-chan anyway?" Akane said, "Not sure, just told me that she has to go meet Kurenai-san at the Dango bar for some reason, and then she helped Naruto stand up. "Come on, let's get you to bed," she said. With Akane's assistance, Naruto went to the bedroom and collapsed back onto the cozy mattress with a satisfied sigh. Akane laughed and tucked him in before departing the room. Before she began to meditate, Akane took her Zanpakuto and put it on her lap. The inner universe of Zanpakuto, Akane. When Akane opened her eyes, she was in a flame-themed throne room with a woman sitting on it, dressed like a queen and sporting flowing flames for hair. Her Zanpakuto ghost said, "Hello Akane, long time no see, do you still remember my name?" "Of course," boasted Akane. "Good, I would have been most upset had you forgotten it," said the spirit. "For what reason have you come in here?" Akane resolutely stated, "I want to be able to help Naruto fight against these hollows." The ghost answered, "So basically, you don't want to feel useless?" Akane muttered, "Yes, but her Zanpakuto could still hear." The ghost crossed her arms and said, "I don't see how I can help you there other than lend you my aid when possible." Akane answered, "That is all I ask," before disappearing. Alongside Enko, as she bit into another piece of dango, Enko asked the Genjutsu mistress, "So Nai-chan, how's your team been doing so far?" "Pretty decent so far. Kiba is too reckless and often charges into a situation before thinking. Shino has to open up more to us while Hinata," murmured Kurenai. "Hinata what?" Enko raised an inquisitive eyebrow. "Well, she is still as shy as always and stutters a lot but has been showing strange behavior, especially when Kiba mentions that new girl on your team," Kurenai responded with concern. Kurenai nodded when Enko said, "Uzumaki Akane?" "Hinata seems to often mumble to herself when Akane is mentioned. I once heard the word bitch and also stealing what's mine in her random mumblings," Kurenai observed as her cup was empty. Enko rolled her eyes and said, "Obviously, she's jealous that Akane got to Naruto first." "I know, she has had a crush on him since they were kids. I can't believe he never noticed it," said Kurenai. "He wasn't exactly very bright before the Mizuki incident took place," Enko laughed. "I guess, since you're his sensei, could you ask him to give Hinata a chance?" Kurenai inquired in a hopeful. "Not a chance in hell." Enko responded with rage, "You heard his explanation in the classroom. She didn't bother to help him out when he needed it, so too bad for her." Kurenai stormed out of the bar, staring after her buddy in slight disbelief and wondering why her friend had responded that way. "What right does she have to advise me to persuade Naruto-kun to give that eerie stalker with the pale eyes a chance?" As she strolled down the street, Enko raged inside her brain. A sluggish voice said, "Yo Enko," which made her glance around before settling on Kakashi, who was reading his dumb book as usual. "What do you want, Kakashi?" Enko inquired impatiently. Kakashi's trademark eye smile returned, "Wow, didn't someone wake up on the wrong side of the bed this morning?" Enko frowned and said, "Stop wasting my time and spit it out." Kakashi handed her a regular sealing scroll and said, "Geez, fine, I want you to hand this scroll to Naruto, just tell him it's from me." Enko peered warily at the scroll and asked, "What's inside it?" Kakashi waved as he left, saying, "Nothing bad, just a jutsu that I believe he should learn, Ja-ne." After 3 seconds of blinking and staring at the scroll, Enko shrugged and started walking back to the Namikaze estate, making sure no one was around. She entered the estate through the front entrance and discovered Akane alone as she went through some sword katas. Enko said, "Hey Akane, have you seen Naruto-kun?" The redhead took a moment to wipe the perspiration from her forehead. He just returned around 15 minutes ago but he was dead tired so I told him to get some sleep. He's currently sleeping in our bedroom, Akane responded. Anko uttered, "Oh, I see." Akane told Anko what Naruto had said to her, "So what were you looking for him for? If it's for your Ryatsu training he already told me he would get right on it the moment he isn't so tired." Anko took the scroll out of her coat pocket and presented it to Kakashi, who stated it was a jutsu scroll that held a jutsu that Naruto-kun would be interested in learning. Akane looked at the scroll carefully before shrugging. "No, that's not it," Anko answered. Akane handed the scroll back to her, saying, "It seems like a typical sealing scroll to me, and I don't think Kakashi has a grudge against Naruto-kun." Anko inquired, "So what do I do with it?" "You can either hold on to it until Naruto-kun awakes or just leave it at the bedside table," said Akane. "I think I'll just leave it on the table," Anko said, heading up to the bedroom while Akane resumed her kenjutsu practice. Unknown place. A man with orange spiky hair, several facial and ear piercings, and purplish-gray ripple-patterned eyes questioned a man in an orange mask with a spiral design and one eye hole. "Pain, has everyone been briefed?" "Yes, Madara, everyone has been told of our organization's purpose," Pain responded. Madara informed him, "Good, then let everyone know that Akatsuki is almost ready to move," and Pain nodded before heading out of the room. Everything went as planned. "Soon I will be complete," Madara said, reaching behind his orange mask and running a palm over a smooth, white porcelain surface that covered a quarter of his lower jaw.